Hola Amigos, and welcome back to Amor Aventura. We are so excited to have you be part of our journey. We're Zach, Fiorella, and Kiki. 2 years ago, we bought a shuttle bus to convert to the tiny home of our dreams. In 2020, we quit our jobs and hit the road. Follow along as we explore all around the Americas and share all things bus life, the ups, the downs, and all the resources we gain as we chase this dream. We can't wait to see you on the road.
What is happening, guys, and welcome back to Amor Aventura. Today we have a resourceful video for you guys, especially because it was a nightmare to try to find the information that we're going to share with you guys when we were interested and curious and trying to find out what actually we needed and what was it like and the whole scenario of what it's actually like to cross the US-Mexico border coming into Mexico with a self-converted bus/RV motorhome. You know the deal.
We made a list of exactly what we had to have and exactly what our process looked like.
Yeah, so we're going to keep it nice and concise, give you all the info that you need, and also give you a quick explanation of what our crossing experience was like so that you know what to expect if you are going to cross the border too. So first off, the first thing I always want to say is, like, whenever you start doing this research, you'll read that Mexico is dangerous and you have to be careful and all these things, and I will ask you that you take all those things like a grain of salt. Any place is dangerous if you're in the wrong neighborhood, if you are in the wrong place, if you're not paying attention. So obviously, just things get blown up in the media, so always consider that. Always do your research and always be paying attention to your surroundings, but just wanted to throw that in there to start.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's get started. So if you have a bus conversion, whether that's a Skoolie or a shuttle bus like ours, this is the video that you're looking for. So we're going to focus on that. We have a shuttle bus conversion. Things you need to know about our situation before we get started. Our title of the shuttle bus is converted or is a recreational vehicle. So we are registered in our title as an RV, okay? So just know that information as we go on and explain the next things. So before you go, what you need, what documents you really need, where do you do them, online, everything, we're about to explain that to you.
Yeah, so the first thing that you're definitely going to need in order to drive even across the border is you're going to need to have proof of Mexican driving insurance. So essentially, there are areas and places that you can go in and get insured. We tried to stop in a couple of them, but the ones next to the border where we were actually had a lot of trouble insuring RVs. So what we did is we just went online. We literally Googled Mexican driving insurance and we clicked on one of the first few ones.
We'll leave the links down here.
Yes, in the description. And you essentially just fill out all of your information. You put in exactly how long you want to be there, and you get to choose the type of plan that you want. There's price ranges for a really basic one to more of a higher one that, you know, gives you more coverage.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to choose what you want, and you do the whole thing online, and then it emails you your insurance card, and you just need to have that present when you are driving, and more importantly, when you are crossing, to prove that you are able to, you know.
So this Mexican insurance, the reason we have it before you go is definitely something you want to be thinking of. You actually can't do it in the border. There's, at least the border we crossed, which is Laredo in Texas. You could do it when you were doing the other paperwork in the border, but it is a requirement for you to have in Mexico, so it's better if you get it handled before. That way it's just ticked off your list. Like Zach mentioned, you can do it in insurance companies that are in the bordering towns. When we were in Las Cruces or El Paso, like some bordering towns that are a little bit more popular for tourism reasons, you will be able to find this insurance in an office if you feel more comfortable doing that. We did choose to do it online, which is another option, but that is the first thing that you do need to consider before you go, is you're going to need Mexican insurance for your vehicle. Okay, so the next thing, and for give you guys a reference, we paid about
$230.
And that was for 2 weeks, and that was fully insured, all liability, and we did price the bus what we think it's worth, so that obviously adds value, because if something were to happen, we were fully covered for about like $15,000 or so. So that is definitely up to you, but that's just to give you a reference. And as a tip before I forget, you do want to keep the evidence that you paid for Mexican insurance. That way when you're coming back to the States, you can show that proof of Mexican insurance to your actual insurer in the US, like Progressive or whatever insurance company, and they should be able to give you back the money because you were insured in another country. So that's a good tip to save some of money. So remember that. So the next thing that you want to think before you go is your tip, and you're going to read a ton about this, and essentially it's the permit that allows you to import an American vehicle to Mexico. You're going to need to have that paper with you, but here's the catch: you don't need to do it before you go, but you can if you want to. So the tip is the document. You'll have to put information about like your title and information like that, and you can do it online on a Mexican website that's called Banjercito. We'll leave that information like we said below, but if you do it online, you do have to have a mailing address to where they'll send you that paper, and it takes about 2 weeks to do the process online. Now it makes your border crossing faster, but you don't need to do it online. So we showed up at the border, but that's another thing that you'll read as a requirement, your tip, and that's your two options: doing it before you cross, which means doing it online and waiting for it and having them mail you the paper when it's done, or doing it in the border.
Yeah, doing it in the border for us actually just worked out better, especially with everything going on. The border wasn't very busy, so we were able to be in and out of the building and get the tip done within 10 minutes.
And we'll explain you the process of when we did it in the border in a little bit. Right now we're going over the documents, so stay tuned for that.
Yes.
But the next thing you want to do before you go is obviously make a check, make sure all your documents are in place, that your passport is not expiring or that it's valid, that you need, the other documents that you're going to need before you go is you'll make sure you have your title of the vehicle, and that you're the title, the owner that is stated in the title is with you. So if you put it to your dad's name, you're going to have a legal document that says, that's notified and such, that says that you're able to have the vehicle. So it's obviously much easier. Our title is at Zach's name. It actually has both of our names. So you want to make sure you have the document, the title and registration of the vehicle, that you have the original and some copies just in case with you, that your passport is not expiring or expired, and then I think that's it with documents.
Yeah, that's all you really need for documents.
Those are the documents that you're going to need handy. Now, we're also going to talk in this video about crossing the border with a kitty cat. So if you have seen our videos before, we live full-time in the road and we have a cat with us. So we did cross the border with a cat. So for that, it's confusing to read online, but information 2020/2021, you do not need medical doctor paper for your pet. Now, again, we're just talking about cats. We don't know exactly what the dog situation would be, but you don't need the paper that states anything. All you need is some sort of document that will talk about your cat or your animal. In our case, we just made sure we had handy paperwork from where we adopted Kiki, and that stated like her age and if she got like the rabies vaccine. But it's just information you want to have handy. Actually, nobody asked us anything about the cat, so
we actually gave more information than we even needed when we were crossing. They were like, do you have anything that you need to declare? And we thought that was the moment when we needed to say that we had a cat. Told them we had a cat, and it pretty much just meant nothing to them. So
yeah, so usually online they say that they'll take you to a different office where the animal would be examined, and you want to just make sure that they don't have any infections or anything like that. But nobody told us that we had to go, so We don't know if that's different because of COVID or anything, but you just want to have some paperwork handy. But I guess in our case, at least, crossing the Laredo border, they didn't ask for any specific paperwork or anything like that.
Yeah. Then the last thing that you should definitely do before you go, obviously in all of the border towns, there's going to be money exchanges. You're going to want to definitely exchange a decent amount of money because you need to pay for the tip and the things that you're doing when you cross in pesos, so you want to have that accessible already. And then also when you're driving a little bit further, you're going to hit some tolls probably, and you need to pay with those in pesos as well. So it's just easier to have that handled before you cross because it's just one more thing that you don't have to worry about at all. You just have the pesos ready and you're able to pay for those things. Cool.
That's Mexico.
That's the border right there.
Okay, so you got all your paperwork in order and you're ready to cross and you're wondering what that crossing experience is like. And right now we're going to go ahead and tell you guys what our crossing experience was like. Again, we crossed in a town called Laredo, which is in Texas, right under San Antonio, Texas. You'll read sometimes that Laredo is a dangerous crossing border. Again, all of the borders can be dangerous. Just know that you're crossing to a bordering town. We definitely recommend that you cross early in the morning so that you have enough time to drive to your destination, and that maybe you have a destination already figured out for that first night at least. It could be an RV park or wherever you're going. It changes though. Obviously, if you're crossing in Baja California, it's very different. It's much easier. That's a very touristy border, so they're used to it. So it kind of just depends. Just make sure you do the research specific to your border. But we're going to go ahead and tell you guys what our experience was crossing the international bridge in Laredo. We crossed very early in the morning, around 8 a.m. So the first thing you're going to do as you're driving out of the U.S. is going to be entering Mexico. And the first thing we got asked is just routine. As you're going through, you'll get asked if you're carrying any ammunition or guns or, you know, those big things that they ask you usually in airports. Obviously, we weren't carrying any of that, so we said no. They let us go through, and we, at that point, just drove through the bridge. Because you have to leave the United States. The bridge is kind of like half the U.S., half Mexico. So you drive through the bridge, and as you leave the U.S. behind, then you enter Mexico. So usually cars go to the left, where there's a lot of booths, and there's all kinds of like
a toll booth.
Like a toll booth area, like it says cars. Now, in the Laredo border to the right, there is a big sign that said buses. Originally, we thought we didn't qualify for that because we were thinking buses as in, like, transportation buses. But they did point us in that direction, so we did have to go to that direction. The reason you do go that way is, like, it's the area for bigger vehicles because they'll x-ray your vehicle. And then at that point is where we had to get out of the vehicle and we had an officer come into the bus and do walk-in. That officer did ask for our tip, our import permit document, and we didn't have it. So we told him that we thought we could do it at the border, and he said, yes, you can do it after this point. It's just that in that case, he was used to people having it. It was okay that we didn't have it. He just wanted to see our title, our registration, our passports, and I think that's it.
I think that was all he asked to see. Yeah, he asked to see those things, and then he asked us if we had permission to walk inside the vehicle. We said yes, and he came in and pretty much just did a quick walk around, and
then he told us we were good to go. And the next step, and this is where you want to be very careful, ask for directions if you don't know how to get there. After that, we needed to go get that tip permit, that permit to have the vehicle in Mexico. So next to the borders, that's technically all the boarding process, technically. But because it's a bigger vehicle, you have to get out of the vehicle and find the office where you do immigration and the office where you get this permit. And usually these offices are called Banjercito. So in our case, we had to kind of drive almost like back down and then over. They'll point you in that direction, but it's a parking lot. In the case of Laredo, it was just a parking lot and just a big long building, and it was really easy to understand. There was like numbers of the different steps that you had to take. So the first step that you have to take is actually doing the immigration for yourself. And that is like if you were to arrive like in the airport, you want to make sure you do like your personal immigration. So you'll go out to an officer, they'll ask you where you're going, what you're doing, what your purpose is. So we said tourism, that we're coming to see family. They'll make you fill up the form that you usually do on immigration. They'll stamp your passport and they'll give you your tourist card. So that's definitely, you need your tourist card to get out of the country as well. It's the legal process that says that you're coming into Mexico. So that's the first step. It's all labeled, really easy to understand. They'll point you in the direction. They'll ask you what you need as well. So, and some people did speak English, and there's people that are helping you fill up the form in case you needed it. But it would definitely help having Spanish. So maybe practice your Spanish before you go. And then the next step in actually leaving this office where we did our immigration, there was a lot of insurance booths. So if you didn't get your insurance online and didn't get it before you go, you could get insured right there. It was Mexican insurance. There was lots of different options. They were like selling it, so you could stop and get your insurance there. We already had ours, so we kept going. So the next step was to go to step 3, which these are all labeled in Laredo. And we had to pay, I think it was 50 pesos, and get photocopies of our tourist card and our passport. They did that there. It was part of the steps, which is really cool. You don't have to worry about getting them beforehand. You just pay the lady, they'll do photocopies. They know how many to do. And with those copies, then you would leave this one part of the building and go to right next to the building, where you will start doing the process of your import vehicle paper. At this moment, because of COVID, they only let one person in that building, and it's the person whose title, like whose name is in the title of the vehicle. So Zach can explain you guys what happened there, because I wasn't allowed in.
Yeah, so essentially it was pretty much just much of the same. I had to go to another window, and he pretty much just asked me more questions about where we were going, what kind of vehicle it was. I had to provide him the documents again, and he actually took more scans of the documents there, and pretty much I just had to fill out a bunch of paperwork saying what we had in the bus. It was like, do we have a TV? Do we have tools? Do we have running water? Do we have a sink? Do we have electricity? Do we have a stove? And it was basically just a checklist, and I had to either check yes or no, and I had to do that 2 times on 2 separate papers and pretty much just give that to him. He filled out the rest on a computer, and then I had to pay, and I believe the cost was...
It was $50.
50 US dollars.
If you have a recreational vehicle, it's $50. If you have a van or a car, it's a lot more. It's based on the your year and stuff like that. Now, that money is technically refundable on your way back when you let the Mexican government know, hey, I am taking the vehicle back out. I'm taking it back to the U.S. You get that money back. They do not take cash. It has to be done on a credit card. So,
paid that, and that was pretty much it. Then he gave me a big folder with everything inside of it, and I was on my way. We walked out, and that was the last thing that I had to do.
So the office, like we're saying, this Banjercito office where you do all this stuff, can be in different places after you do like the actual crossing of the border. In this case, it was right there. We read at some point that in some other ones you kind of have to drive into town a little bit, and then it's there. So again, just like do the research. We'll leave these names and stuff, and we'll do a blog post about this too, so you can, if you Google Banjercito next to the border town you're looking for, it'll actually point out the building. So we did that the night before, so we knew where the building was that we had to go to and to do stuff, and obviously you can get directions there as well. So really smooth process, really easy to get this information. You just want to make sure you have your title and the documents we mentioned before. Then that's all you do for crossing. And in our case, in Laredo, they do offer like escorts, like groups to the highway just for safety. Like the police will take you. It's a caravan. We opted to do it just because we were there. Lots of people were doing it, and we didn't see a harm in getting escorted by the police. So they escort you until right before the booth to pay for the highway that it's a toll highway, which we chose to do, just nicer highways. Again, that's going to be handy having the Mexican money already, because you're going to need the pesos to pay the booth. They don't take dollars, so you want to make sure you have that. We did get stopped in the highway by like the the actual like transit police, and all they wanted to see was our tip, that document we had just done, and I think they were just insurance.
I believe they checked the insurance too.
Yeah.
So just to provide proof that
we had just entered and we had all the legal documents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that was it. Then we were in Mexico. So that's all the paperwork that you need to do to get into Mexico. Zach will be crossing back in a few days, so we'll add any information that is good for you guys to know for the way back as well. But to come to Mexico, that's all you need. So don't be intimidated by all the long, scary videos about how to do this. Trust your gut as always. Do your research, but know that it's pretty
seamless. Yeah.
And now we're in Mexico.
Now we're here.
So, if you guys have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comments. We will definitely be answering these. I know this is a very big topic. We did find in our research one very helpful website, so we'll add that here too as a resource, and we'll add our blog as well, where we'll explain this and put steps and links and names and such. So please let us know if you have any questions about this. We would absolutely love to answer it. And if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to our channel. If this is the first video you're watching from us, hello. And
hello.
Join an adventure. We are full-time on the road, and we have lots of exciting things for this year.
We are really excited for what's to come. We're excited that all of you are here with us, and yeah, we just have so many fun things coming and planned, so make sure you stick around and tune in for all of those.
So we hope this was helpful, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.
Vamos y sin censura, yo te hago todo a ti dulzura. ¿Qué pasó entre yo?